been opened up by this second grandstand
Yes.
over here on what would be the west side. So there's also that entrance now
Yep.
on the west side, which I think that's new too, right? In
Yeah, you
terms
got
of
the
this
entrance
west side
over there. There's
entrance.
like a beach
You
over
used-
there.
Yeah, you used to have to go. Beach volleyball is
Yeah, apparently.
yeah. Apparently, you can do a little bit of beach volleyball if you'd like to, or somebody can. I'm
If
not
you're
sure.
so inclined.
If you're so inclined. So that's it. And then the main course, of course, will be the same. It will be this football team that we'll see start to matriculate out here in about 45 minutes or so. This is an exciting time. What is your favorite training camp in Berea moment from our show?
From our show?
Yeah, not plays, like just cool things we did.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. It involves the number 4 and the word Horson and you having what appeared to be at the time the greatest moment ever. And then in retrospect, one of those didn't age well moments that you had with our former quarterback. That's number 1. That will always be one of my top
all-timer.
4. Like, that will always be on my Mount Rushmore.
Wednesday night taped.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some
Mr. Winters.
Mr. Winters was Mr. Winters. Dick Winters was very strong.
Yeah.
That was very good. Yeah. The Mr. Dog appearance
Mr.
was an
Dog,
all-time.
yeah,
Those
Mr.
are
Dog.
all-timers. But yeah, this was fun. I do remember last year when the Hoff was here with us. Yeah, a little bit of clicking. I don't know if that's over the air or that's just us. Not sure. But I remember the Hoff was here, and the notion of we were in the tent. There were these gnats that come out this time of year that were just swarming our faces, and then there was no fan.
No, and I notice now no fan yet, but for day one,
I think it'll happen.
early.
I think it's going to happen.
I think it will happen as
Yeah.
well. I'll tell you this though, the gnats that we experienced last year don't hold a candle to the gnats of West Virginia near a river golfing situation in a hot late afternoon.
Oh boy!
I
bet that's a
multiple
real one.
golf shots with about 10 gnats in the inner rim of my hat. They were. Would you give it?
Was that Snead or was it the other
all
one?
of them?
All
Meadows,
of them.
Snead,
Anywhere
anyone
there
that's
was
near the
water
river.
on it.
Like,
Yeah.
it was and if you looked and actually your eyes kind of adjusted to looking, there were millions of gnats in the air around you at all times.
That it's I don't have any like real phobias. I'm not really other than the bird thing. I'm not crazy about them. But gnats or insects in close proximity to my face, that bugs me a great deal. Like I would have been like Joba Chamberlain.
Well, I'm always worried that, like, what if the gnats fly into my ear and then they lay their eggs and all of a sudden I got like gnats in my brain?
These are the things that run through my head,
Right.
or enter through an eye socket.
Can be paralyzing, that kind of fear.
You don't want that. So that is no good.
Gibbe is not hearing us, I don't think. Are you hearing us, Gibbe?
Yeah, I think he's hearing us. I think he's concerned with the clicking. Is where he's working.
Oh, he's not concerned with the gnats. The clicking is the gnat of Berea right now.
Yeah, that's the way that it goes. We do have some news today. We've signed cornerback Lorenzo Burns.
All right.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Burns. We had to cut Bo Pete Keys waived injured with a finger injury, and in comes Lorenzo Burns from the University of Arizona in Tucson, Zago.
Yeah.
Bear down.
By probably at some point this afternoon will no longer be a member of the Pac-12 conference.
Where's it going?
The Big 12.
Oh, baby.
It's not official, but it's going to happen.
Basketball conference. I heard some wild rumors about the Big Ten adding a bunch of schools. Is that?
It's a little. So I think, could that be S?
S and another person who is not as plugged in or diabolical as S.
Yeah.
But
no, S is on another level. I think the
like I heard big names like our quarterback's alma mater.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I think I mean, it could. Anything's possible. But there is the Big Ten. I think right now is kind of playing the role of the vulture. Once a carcass is on the ground, they will go clean it up. So I think what could happen is the Pac-12 dissolves. Could be today. Once that happens, then I think that they could go to the two Northern California schools potentially.
Yes, they should.
More likely they would go to Oregon and Washington and say, we will take you at discount. And Washington, Oregon will say, yes, sir, and we'll have another.
We'll be glad.
That's how that'll go.
By the way, it gives them a lot more options on the West Coast. It's a better.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned today, which has kind of been trending, is that the Southern California schools really have no interest in adding anybody else out west because they like having the monopoly of the West Coast.
Sure.
And all the money.
By the way, if you do add, and I know, and I'm not going to count Rutgers or Maryland. You can apologies.
Yeah.
But if you did add a Clemson, let's say. your coast-to-coast scope of pretty legitimate programs is pretty nice.
It is. It is for sure. Yeah, they would. The Big Ten would need to have an additional revenue stream to do that, though, because if Clemson and Florida State were to leave the ACC, they would break the grant of rights that they have with ESPN. Currently, Big Ten does not have a deal with ESPN, so they have 3 networks. So they would need a 4th window to sell to be able to make that money work. Otherwise, they'd be asking their current members to take less than what they're obviously getting. So they would need a rework deal.
By the way, we're back on the stream. Yellowstone came in. He conquered. Nana said that.
Of course he did.
She was pleased with my vulture movement.
Yeah, you did. That was very good. Very good of you. This is a tight week, brother.
Yeah.
Back Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Show for us. Practice today.
Yeah.
And then walk through. Then
tomorrow.
Hoff game.
Then the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And then in the next 10 days from that point, we will play another game and depart for Philadelphia for 5 days.
Man, life comes at you fast.
Like this month of August is going to be over before we know it. This season will be here before we know it.
I know. I hate it. It's August 1, and it already feels like it's September.
It's almost
1.
September. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not crazy about the way that this is all going to go. So I don't even like that type of talk. I want to savor all of these days.
Yeah, we got to.
Yeah, it's going to be cold before we know it. What do you anticipate today?
I think we're going to see a lot of work from the starters. I think we're going to see a good competitive practice, but I do think we will see, Kellen Mond, DTR get some extra reps perhaps as they prepare to play Thursday. We'll hear from Coach Stefanski, I think, at the bottom of the hour, and he will address at that point kind of what the playing time is. But I can tell you these are scores that you should pay attention to. You're not going to see any of the starters. You're going to see, unless there's
You're talking for Thursday.
For Thursday night.
Yeah.
You'll see potentially maybe like one guy who could be a starter in the linebacker room just due to the amount of injuries they have there and guys that just aren't available. With Adams down, you're not going to see AWOC, you're not going to see Taki. So you might have to see some of those guys play a little bit more than you would. But in most rooms, no starters. I think it's going to be Kellen Mond and DTR the whole way. We'll see if that's what Coach is on that same path. And it's just going to be an opportunity, I think, for a lot of these young guys to get, game reps. And, it's an opportunity here in the few positions that exist that are really up for grabs. Like if you're going into it and you're saying, what should I be paying attention to? Watch the interior of the offensive line, Drew Forbes, who, by the way, I have $1 on Drew Forbes, a theoretical $1 on Drew Forbes to be the first position, like not specialist out here, because we don't know if they're on a different timing. So New York, he doesn't count. The first non-specialist, my money's on Drew Forbes. But, watching that, the interior of the line, watching, the Ronnie Hickman, the young safety out of Ohio State, he and DeAnthony Bell, I think, are in a bit of a battle. Watching Mahmoud Diabate, that fully confirmed, Mahmoud Diabate at linebacker, and seeing how that all plays out. So I think there are a lot of things to look at here in this game. But the fun part for us is going to be watching the quarterbacks, and I'm pumped to see DTR. I'm pumped to see him with his high school teammate Cedric Tillman. I think that could be a lot of fun for us.
Yeah, I think the two quarterbacks and Tillman is what you're excited for most at the to watch on Thursday night. Were you surprised? Obviously it's an injury thing, but that corner. We talked about D tackle. We know we had there was that you had a guy in here yesterday on that front. Was it surprising at all that it was a corner that was signed today?
D tackle is a position where if they sign somebody, they're signing somebody to be on the 53 and to
be a player.
To be a player.
Yeah.
This signing at the bottom of the cornerback room, like your top 4, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, MJ Emerson, AJ Green are locked in. I think Mike Ford is locked in as a special teams player. So that's 5. So then you've got a battle between Graham, I think, and Cameron Mitchell. Westry's a different body. You got Caleb Biggers here. I just think you need guys to play in these games because it's unlikely that those top 4 corners I said will play much, and it's unlikely even, Mike Ford will probably get some reps. But this is not you need corners to play these preseason games.
Yeah.
That's really the reality of it. You have enough defensive tackles to play these preseason games because, Mo Hurst and Siaki Ika, you're going to want to get him reps, guys that are already on the 53. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. Of course, you just need guys to be able to run around. And so that's, Lorenzo Burns, a guy who's bounced around the league. He was signed by Arizona State in-state originally in 2021. He was on the Jacksonville practice squad in 21 and 22, and then most recently with the Birmingham Stallions, 2-time All-Pac-12 honorable mention. We'll see. Listen, Jordan Konashik was signed in a similar fashion last year.
Now look at him.
2 days before preseason game, and now look at him. He's likely, right now he's your starting Mike. I don't know when everybody's healthy if that maintains, but core special teams player, will contribute on defense as well. Has had a great camp, and so you never know with these kind of signings, but I think it's a long shot, but that's why he's brought in. They need people to be able to play at those positions in these games.
So just from a, in terms of what, you kind of laid out with this practice, we know what tomorrow will look like. Obviously, the game on Thursday, and then Saturday will be a morning, just so the schedule, and then Sunday would be another one of these that's open for everybody, right? That would be full on Sunday, and that would be one that would potentially have a little bit of juice because you're playing on Thursday here, right, against Washington.
Friday night, I believe.
Friday
against Washington.
Okay.
I mean, as I look out here at Cade York, though, it does look like he's in pads, Gibbe. Is today a padded day?
Yeah, he's definitely in pads.
Yeah.
I'm told that we will be in pads today.
So then this will be a real practice. This will be –
Yep.
So you'll go.
So then my guess is – I'm going to rephrase my guesses now. Now that I know it's a padded practice, you're going to see a lot of work for the ones in the practice. And we're going to get – I think DTR and Kellen Mond in a very simplistic gameplay will get maybe most of the stuff in the walkthrough tomorrow.
Okay.
I think that they'll still get their work here today. I bet you won't see much of Josh Dobbs today. But because if we're in pads – that's valuable for everybody, knowing that the starters aren't going to play, which means if you think about from a schedule standpoint, the starters' last practice they were in was on Sunday. They had Monday off. They'll have practice today. Tomorrow's a walkthrough. Thursday's a game that they won't be playing in. Friday's a day off that they won't be playing. That is a day off, period, full stop. Saturday, I think maybe you'll start to get a little bit of work again, but, this is really the only chance for your starters to really get work this week.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I
not
fully
until
expect them to
Sunday
get
would
more.
be the next chance you'd be able to do it. So this one now feels like it's going to have some little bit of juice to it here, and that's good. I mean, the first one for the fans here in Berea, so that'll be very, very special. We'll have Coach at the bottom of the hour. In terms of a health standpoint, everybody walking into this one, no surprises, right? Everybody came out of West Virginia relatively good other than what was known.
Yeah, so, we'll see today, if you get any updates from Coach. The guy that I would be the most curious about is Jalen Darden. And this will be the first opportunity, I think, to get an update on Jalen Darden's status. My guess is, based on seeing him the way that he was walking around the Greenbrier, that he will not be available this week. Matthew Adams, we know, is out. We'll get our first update on Tyrone Wheatley, who was kind of limped off in the in that fracas, that skirmish, as it were. But for the most part, everything is good. And I saw Jakeem Grant and Jerome Ford back here today. They missed the last 2 days at the Greenbrier for personal reasons. They're both back here today. And I think for a guy like Jerome Ford, this is a very important game. And for Jakeem Grant, I don't know when we'll see him in the preseason.
Yeah.
But when we do, I think it will be very important for him. Because he's the guy that has a chance, given how good he is at his specialty, to make this team as the returner goes. An all-pro, was a Pro Bowler. It can change the calculus of a game, and in a tightly contested division, and obviously a ridiculously loaded conference. I was talking with our good friend Steve Weish earlier today about it. That could be the difference. One return here or there could be the difference between winning and losing 1 or 2 games. It could be the difference between winning your division, not winning your division, making the playoffs, not making the playoffs. So he's got a shot, but I think we've got to see him do it. You got to know that he's all the way back, and he is who he was prior to that very unfortunate Achilles injury that happened about 50 yards from us right here in those joint practices with Philly.
Watching Cade just came out, Bjorkes came out as well. With the ability for everybody to wear every number, will we see a shift, do you think, of specialists out of those prime numbers?
I mean, yeah, eventually. And
you have a 3 and a 13 sitting over there,
which are pretty good.
Pretty money.
Yeah, pretty
right?
money numbers. And then you got Charlie's at 47. They should be in, the kicker should come out in a 46.
Yeah, that's it.
Punter. Yeah.
Remember, that was NBC's number last year. And he was so distraught. And I'm like, I got nothing.
No.
I could almost give you a number for any player in the league.
Sure.
I could give you something.
Yeah, not a lot of 46.
But a 46 is a tough sell. That's a tough sell, Coach. Very, very difficult. Here's a 3 and a 13 available.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
By the way, these look like what would have happened if we decided to try to do what the Atlanta Falcons did.
Yeah, the fade. So this has got to be is this our
youth football?
Youth football?
Looks like it.
Yeah, so they went with a fade with an orange to white. That's tricky.
It is tricky.
It's always a tricky one to go with that. I always
thought
thought
that an NFL team did it, though, and actually thought it was going to work is unbelievable. In retrospect, those
How does that happen?
That's a Mount Rushmore all-time most absurd
I
jersey.
think you're right, and I think the only reason it's not talked about more is because they're black and red, and so
And they knew
everything else is so cool.
They don't wear
that
it.
that it almost gets forgotten.
Yeah, like I think they don't. I don't think they wear it.
No, I think it's done. No, I think it's done. So they're going to have the throwback again this year with the red helmet,
Sure.
and so they'll have all that,
Yep.
and they'll lean heavily on that. But like to have those type of uniforms and to say let's try this is a pretty. It's not like they were the Jaguars when they tried it. Like they just did the helmet. Like you're just trying to find an identity if you're Jacksonville, but like you're the Atlanta Falcons for crying
And you
out
have
loud.
the most
Among the more
ideal
gorgeous
color
uniforms.
combinations, right?
It's tough to beat black and red. That's
and with
really good.
silver, gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't mess this up.
No, they have.
The click
They
was
don't
gone,
use
but it's
as-
back.
Do they use the silver as much now? They don't, right?
No,
don't
when
have
they
a
wear
silver
the
pant.
Dion,
They have
when
a
they
white-
wear when they wear
the prime ones, they had the
or,
silver pants.
as
or
you
the
like to
Jeff
call them, the
Georges.
Jeff Georges. Exactly.
Yeah, the Andre Rison silver.
Oh,
That's,
yeah.
that's when they had the silver, and then they went to just black and red
Yeah.
from that point. Yeah, since Vic, and then through this group. So, anyway, yeah, we'll see. That is always a bold choice.
Yeah.
When you go that route. This will be fun. It'll be fun for all of you to get out here. I do think we asked Coach Tarver about this yesterday. I do think there will be some juice with the players of hearing the fans.
Yes, they're excited about it. I can tell you that firsthand. The players are excited about it. The coaches are excited about it. And I expect our fans, as we've seen, show nuffs over there. I mean, how could you not be excited, right?
Did you get a closer view
Yeah,
of him?
you nailed it. I mean, that's it.
He's
epic.
100% showing up.
Epic. If only
He
it was
might be
red.
going for it. That might be the intent.
We got to ask him. We might have to bring him
there's
over.
gotta be
He could
inspiration.
be, since we couldn't quite land the Billy Don interview in West Virginia, Gibbe, maybe we land show enough here.
Let me ask you this. How long well, here's your bet on first out.
No.
Not.
Rashawn Henry, the wide receiver. I like it. And along with, is that Austin Watkins behind him?
Yeah,
Two
this
young
is-
receivers saying, look, I want to find my way onto this practice squad here. I respect it. And usually the offensive line, usually it's a Drew Forbes. Maybe we don't even see it. Maybe he's already down there. That's a possibility. We don't
Already
have the
in the mix?
vantage point. Yeah.
No, I don't think
No.
so.
All right.
I
So
think that's it.
that's it. Here's my theoretical dollar. You had the field.
I had the
Winner. Pretty good odds for you, I would say.
Yeah, the field versus you, and you're
Versus
picking
Drew
one
Forbes.
human.
Out of
Yeah,
90.
that's usually quite good. I also did like Jenner doing a fantastic mock of
Yeah.
the run through in the line, so that was very, very good too.
Yeah, it's cool. They got obviously some of I think the Youth Adapted Football League is out there right now, and they've formed the tunnel for the guys to walk out of.
Yeah.
By the way, okay, so I don't feel bad here because here comes Drew
Here
Forbes.
comes Drew Forbes, right there.
Okay. Okay. I don't feel bad at all.
I mean, you could. I mean, knowing you, there's a way that you could argue that being correct and that was the first guys to run through with the full tunnel experience.
With the helmets on it,
Yeah.
Drew Forbes is why I tell you there, and Forbes edged him out. By the way, that would have been a real fun one to call live had we not these receivers hadn't ruined it.
They ruined it.
You've ruined it.
Ruined it.
But
yeah.
that would have been fun because it was kind of like ketchup and mustard and onion. It felt like Teller was ahead there, and then all of a sudden Forbes kicked it into gear.
Depend on where you were on the
And
line.
he won, yeah. Well, I go by where Starkey is. That's the finish line to me, and that was clearly a Forbes.
Where's Sark?
He's right at the very end. He's
Oh,
right
okay.
through
yeah.
Esteban Una.
Beyond Esteban, yeah, all right. I got you. All right, very good. All right, Coach will be coming up here shortly.
Yeah.
We will get to that.
What a banger of an opener, by the way.
really was. Day one of training camp here in Berea.
In Berea.
In Berea. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily. Coach is walking now. I can tell you, Coach will be here relatively soon as he's walking through the tunnel of love right now. Go ahead.
Real quick then.
Yeah.
Good friend of the program, Chris Rose, and the play-by-play voice of the Browns
luminary
preseason TV broadcast crew texted me. 46 was Doug Plank of the Bears. They named the 46 defense after him. So there you go.
Where were you last year?
Yeah. Could have been helpful.
Rose, you could have been helpful, man. That would have really bailed me out had I had that. I had Tim McDonald, he was good player. That was
very good.
The very best. There's AP Poisel, the great Poisel, and here's Coach heading up to the podium for his availability.
Coach is up.
Back up in Berea, in front of our fans, which it's amazing the amount of juice that you get from playing in front of your own fans. So. Also in that you're now live and it's full speed tackling, it's full speed pass pro, whatever it may be. So I think that yes, it is a major factor of it. What percentage you weigh each thing, it's a total picture, but certainly in the games it's a big part of it based on the fact that these are live opportunities.
Hey Kevin, how do you think
Good to see you, Jeff.
thanks, good to be here. How do you think Bubba Ventrone's energy connects with his special teams unit?
Yeah, Bubba's been awesome. Not surprised, just knowing Bubba and what he's about. You know, a former player, he can really speak to the things we're doing from his perspective, which is, as a former player and a guy who's been coaching for a little while in this league, I think he's got credibility from those guys. But he's got a great way about him, and I think he's very demanding of his players.
Kevin, you got Kellen after the cut down date last year, so you didn't even see him in the preseason. This is really going to be his first opportunity to get out there. How has he grown over the last year?
Yeah, I think Kellen's done a great job. Really, like you mentioned, Chris, really just there's a period of just getting to know him early in the season last year. So he's done everything we've asked him to do. I've been very impressed with him both in the meeting room and on the practice field. And the fun part for our players, as you know, is to play in these games. So I think Kellen about the opportunity.
Kevin, Jim said one of the goals is for the defense to lead the league in effort and passion. Have you been pleased with what you've seen in that area to this point, and how important is that to you?
Oh, very important. And I mean, that's what our defense is built on. And I think Jim, as you guys have seen and as you've probably heard, he makes sure the players know where they stand in that given moment, in that given practice. So he's demanding of it. And just the style in which we play defense here with Coach Schwartz, that is how we operate. It's how we get off the ball. It's how we attack the ball. So the defensive staff has done an outstanding job so far.
Kevin, when you go over the game plan for Thursday, do you particularly use a certain set of plays, or is it just more to get these guys reps?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is you want your players to play fast. You want them to give a great accounting of themselves, and you don't want to slow them down with a lot of scheme. I know Coach Sala has a very similar approach to this, so it'll be a great opportunity to challenge our guys, but you don't want to bog them down by scheme. You want them to be able to play fast.
Do you have an update on Tyrone Wheatley?
I don't have an update yet, no.
Well, we brought in a cornerback with some play game experience.
Yeah.
Why?
Just lost Bo Pete to injury, so really replacing that spot on the roster.
Kevin, you
Yes.
brought so many new pieces into the defensive line this offseason, but what have you seen from the younger guys who are coming back, like Alex Wright, Isaiah Thomas, as these new guys come in and they're still trying to prove themselves?
Yeah, I think it's great, Ashley, to have good players in the room. competition brings out the best in people. So it's a really competitive room, but they push each other. They push each other in the meeting room. They push each other on the practice field. You mentioned Alex. You mentioned Isaiah. 2 young players that, I mean, they played meaningful snaps for us last year. So we're excited about them. But it's also great for them to be around Zadarius Thomas, Zadarius Smith, excuse me, to be around Dalvin to see how pros operate.
Kevin, with Jakeem Grant, you're getting a lot of return reps here. Obviously, you're working him back in. Just how close is he, and how pleased are you with how fast he's been able to bounce back?
Yeah, he did an awesome job rehabbing. So we're bringing him along. He's hitting every benchmark that he's supposed to hit. So I think we'll see more and more of him throughout practice. But he's doing a great job.
Kevin, with Dorian.
Coach Schwartz doesn't seem to sugarcoat anything, especially out here. How do you think the players have responded to his coaching style?
Yeah, I think, I think we've talked about Coach Schwartz over when we first hired him. He and I see the game very similar. He's very honest. Sometimes, that can be taken as brutal honesty, but I just think he's very authentic in his nature. He's been doing it at a high level. I know from my perspective, I get to see a guy who coaches him hard, but is fair. He's fair with the guys. He's just going to call it like it is.
Kevin, with Dorian, how important are these game reps for him, especially if he's getting so many, in this particular game?
Yeah, like kind of with what we were saying earlier. I mean, every rep's important. Those game reps, they can tackle you now. They're not worried that you're wearing a red jersey. So you are playing the game at full speed. You got to play fast. Everything's going to happen faster for all those rookies that are playing in their first preseason game under the lights. So just looking for him to operate and really take an extension of what he's been doing here on the practice fields to the game.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how important is that just the operation stuff?
Yeah, it's huge. You oftentimes hear with quarterbacks that he functions well or he gets them in and out of the huddle. That's just part of the gig. Dorian, obviously, in his experience at UCLA, it's a little bit different with how we operate. He's done great, but certainly part of the plan for him is to make sure that when he's in there, we're getting in and out of the huddle, getting the line of scrimmage, making your run checks. Will all be great reps for him.
How do you balance, playing time for some of the guys, are kind of on, especially in a game like this? I mean, how does that decision?
Yeah, it's case by case. It's player by player, and we sit down and we talk about it. Just feel like at this point, with our plan, we think it makes the most sense to play some of the younger players. There will be veterans playing in this game. Maybe they're playing for a shorter amount of time, then you get them out. But we look at this as an awesome opportunity for our young football players. They're going to get a ton of reps in this football game against a different team, tackling to the ground, full speed, all those type of things. Hopefully different situations come up that we've covered throughout this camp so far. So really that's where the importance of just making sure that everybody knows what to do is so important.
Will this also represent sort of a mini break for a lot of the veterans because they really don't have much to do physically until Sunday?
I'm not going to call it a break. They're still going to get their work done. So they'll work good. They'll have a good dose of work today. They'll get some work in tomorrow with their coaches out here on the field. The day of the game, they're going to get a lift and a run. So every day will be a physical opportunity for them.
What do you like where you are at tackle behind Jed and Jack?
Yeah, I think at this point in camp, you're just making sure you get as many guys in there as you can and rep them. But I think James Hudson has been very impressive to me throughout the spring and into this summer. Have some young players that we continue to bring along. So, yeah, it's a good group, and as you know, you just got to get everybody ready to play.
Speaking of the tackles, what have you seen from Jedrick Wills?
Jed's done a nice job. I think came back in great shape. Is playing at playing throughout the practices, throughout the individuals, at a high level. The intensity is there, so I think he's in a really good place.
AVP mentioned Hudson too has impressed him. Did you see that growth last year from when he played a little bit as a rookie to when he had to play early last season?
Yeah, I think with James, as we've talked about back as a rookie, he played more than we probably thought he would, right? He got thrust in there due to injury, but he's taken every single one of those experiences, used them to get better. We love his mentality. Former defensive player, you love that mentality at that tackle position. He plays right on the edge.
Kevin, a similar question about receivers. Of your young guys, whose development has impressed you?
I don't want to single anybody out right this minute. they've done a nice job. As you can imagine, we've had some injuries there, and then Coop was out for a minute, so there were extra reps that were going around throughout down there at the Greenbrier, and we'll continue here. We'll get a ton of reps for these young guys, but they've done a nice job. Coach O'Shea works them really hard. Callie's in there with them, making sure that everybody's ready to go from a mental standpoint. So I think they're all right where they need to be.
Would you say Jerome Ford would play in this game, or you're not ready to say that?
Yeah, I want to talk to the rest of the team in terms of who's playing.
Is he back?
He's back, yes.
Kevin, on Thursday we're going to get our first look at the new kickoff rules. Is there any intrigue from you guys on how that's going to look and how it's going to play out in the actual game situation?
Yeah, I think we're all curious how it all plays out. There may be some teams that hold what they're doing until week 1 and not necessarily in the preseason, but we'll kind of see how it goes. Hopefully we'll be covering some kicks and getting some kick returns, and in the punt game, I think that's a big aspect of this as well, is getting some live coverage reps and hope you don't love to punt all the time, but it's okay to get some punts in there, some punt return opportunities for all of our young players.
Deshaun, how much more comfortable is he, you feel, with the offense here in year 2?
Yeah, Deshaun's done a nice job, as we've talked about. Has come back really into training camp, certainly ready to go. Spent a lot of time over his break with our players, getting his mind ready for this opportunity. So he's done a great job.
Good.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
You're up.
All right, that was Coach at the podium. You get a little bit of a script of what to expect today, what to expect tomorrow, what to expect in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday. We'll react to all of that coming up next. We're, about 20 minutes from the start of this first training camp practice here in Berea as you're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily
Exciting.
on
Let's
850
go.
ESPN Cleveland. Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk and Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. You just heard Coach Stefanski at the podium. This is going to be a good one today. No huddle, 2-minute drill, starters, away we go.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, and this is a great way to kick off training camp in Berea. Once we kind of heard or saw the pads on Cade York and we said, okay, this is going to be a padded practice. That's when we shifted the script. This is going to be all about the starters.
Yep.
They're going to get all the work. This is their only time to get work really this week. So I think you're going to see a very good, very intense practice. And then, tomorrow in the walkthrough, Kellen Mond, who's going to start and play the first half, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's going to start and play the second half. They're going to get all the work. So I expect a ton of Deshaun Watson today. 2-minute drill, as you mentioned. Hurry up. These are the things that quarterbacks live for. These are the drills. These are the situations where you need your star quarterback to thrive. And we'll see. It's been a real back-and-forth battle between the offense and the defense throughout this camp. The defense, I think, probably got the best of Sunday after an offense had a great day Saturday and the first day in pads. So this will be a good one today. I'm excited, actually, to see ultimately how this plays out. I'm going to do a little standing, I think, at times to try to help with our vantage point here to see what's going on out there on the field and try to keep an eye on, who's coming in and out at receiver.
I'm a stander anyway.
Yeah, I don't mind a stand.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of a stand.
I like a stand.
Alleviate some of the pressure off the back.
Yeah.
I
like where your head's at.
Because we've got a lot of people here that are milling around in front of us.
Yeah.
So we've got to try to combat that using
Deshaun.
our height. Deshaun making his way to the field. Kellen Mond as well as the quarterbacks come out and they're in their orange no-contact jerseys. It sounds like we're going to see some things that are pretty live. I talked with Bubba Ventrone before practice today. He said he will have some special teams periods that will be, close to live. So that'll certainly be fun to watch. But I think this is, for the starters, this is the day to get your work in of the week, really. You kind of, in many ways for them, this Hall of Fame game kind of not slows things down, but allows their bodies to kind of catch up after that first full week, which was, at times rigorous, at other times not as much. Get a lot of mental reps, but I think you need to take today really seriously and bring it today. And I hope that we see that from this team. I'm looking out the receiving area now. I do not see Jalen Darden right now. We'll have to take a look when I do see him. He is out there, and it does not look like he is going to be putting in work today. He's in kind of like a T-shirt jersey. So I will not expect to see him. Looks like Harrison Bryant is either maybe getting a vet day off in his fourth year here, as they've been kind of rotating those guys through. But Harrison Bryant, Jordan Akins, it doesn't look like will be working either. So this is going to be a big opportunity. Obviously, we'll see a lot of Chief, but Zaire Mitchell-Payton, Thomas Greeny, you have a chance. Those two young tight ends they're gonna get a lot of reps today in good working conditions, and then obviously play a ton on Thursday night.
I think the other thing I was thinking of this as Deshaun came out. This will be the first time that our fans have seen him with the understanding that he's their guy.
Yep.
There is nothing hanging over anybody's head.
Yep.
And you mentioned, I asked you when you were down in West Virginia, I said he seems like he's in a different spot. You guys were like, yeah, for sure. Like there is a calm, there's a poise, there's a confidence. Like back to who he was as a Texan, back to who he was at Clemson. You remember, like our fans were not at the Greenbrier. They did not. They saw the clips. Certainly, they follow us on social. They see the clips. But in terms of seeing him fully formed, they haven't seen it.
No.
So, like to see him run out and say that's my quarterback, and knowing him a little bit, my hunch is he wants to put on a bit of a show today. I bet he does.
Yeah, I would think so as well. We'll see who he's got. I see Elijah Moore out here. I know he'll have DPJ and Amari
Chiefs
should be
mix.
available to him. Chief, yeah, but he's not going to have two of the tight ends who have played well for him.
Yeah.
Akins, as I mentioned, Harrison Bryant, they've had a nice connection as well. But, yeah, this is going to be a very, very fun day as Amari Cooper makes his way out on the field, and Donovan Peoples-Jones right on cue.
Sure.
Talk about him. They're like, yeah, we'll come on out there. John Kelly, Anthony Walker Jr. in pads today, which is always good to see. Here's the Chief. You mentioned him. You talk about somebody who's had maybe the most impressive camp outside of, Deshaun. And, on the offensive side, Deshaun, Donovan's been great, Elijah, but the Chief has been sensational. And then
how would you describe that hairstyling?
Chief-like.
Befitting
of a Chief.
Befitting
Regal.
of a Chief, yeah.
Yeah, Regal.
So it's half on one side blonde.
Yep.
And then on the other side it is
kind of like old Seth Rollins from the Shield days, if for those who are wrestling aficionados like myself. Yeah, and here comes Marquise Goodwin, and as we heard from Andrew Berry, in the next couple weeks we'll have an idea of what that is. But the guy he has stayed so upbeat. He has stayed so involved in everything. He's still getting in his work, running. He's in great shape. And if he gets, the all clear on the blood clots, he's a guy that I think is going to absolutely make some plays for the Cleveland Browns this season.
Did we have an updated timetable over the weekend of an idea of when that could be?
Next couple of weeks.
Okay, because when we had
we'll
AB
know
on,
before
it
the
felt
season.
like it was coming, but I didn't know if I missed something over the weekend.
No, as he said, the thing that we'll know is if he's going to be available for the season, we'll know that, or the timetable. Then you'll have a very firm timetable coming out one way or the other. But obviously hoping for good news there from Marquise. I did talk to him earlier coming off the field after the walkthroughs. Just an infectious personality, a great dude, and certainly you're hoping for the best outcome for him. With his health, it feels like from a normal life health standpoint, he's fine.
Yeah, clearly. He's in great spirits, bouncing around.
Yeah, there isn't concern so much there. It's obviously from a football standpoint, that's another matter altogether. And we're getting started with special teams here. Cade York kicking field goals right in front of us. We got to get people out of there. Well, as long as they're not right down the middle of the uprights, they're going to be fine. And the kick is up. I don't have any official signal, but we're going to call it good.
I think it's good.
Kick is good.
Yeah,
kick is good.
I think it's good. I think it's good to go. It's just good to see these guys. For a lot of these people out here, your first time seeing JOK in a 6.
Yep.
Some things to get used to from a number switch standpoint. Delpit continues to look just remarkable in a uniform. He just looks so cool in a uniform.
He looks incredible.
Yeah, he does. So those type of things are happening. We're doing a little field goal unit here right now in front of us here on the west
from about
field.
40. Tarv says it's good.
Tarv's
out there.
on it?
Tarv's on it. Tarv's out there.
There
what
he is.
can't he do?
I'm waiting.
Wait, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Be a while.
Look at that. Throw a nice spiral.
Nice little spiral back. Just floated it. No need to show off.
Right.
No need to show off.
Not trying to impress anybody.
No, he could pipe it in there if he wanted to. His enthusiasm.
Look at him. Tarvs. He's ready. Lined up.
He's got it lined up right on the – he's really set for it.
All right, this one looks like it could be from about 42, 43 maybe. It's hard to tell from our angle, folks. We're doing the best we can.
We are doing the best we can.
Ball is down. The kick is up. And the kick is good. Oh, a little new celebration. A little for the people from Tarvs.
Oh, my gosh.
How about that one?
Is that a –
yeah, baby.
Is that a rugby – official,
like a try? Is that a try? I don't know. It's more like a baby.
Pedro would know what that would be as an elite rugby player as he was, elite athlete.
He's not as much of a stream watcher as the old Nana.
No, Nana would be on it.
Nana would, she would
Pedro still listen to this?
Yeah. All right, so 35. This is going to be about 48 yards. Ball down.
Ball clean.
The kick is up.
Another bomb.
And the kick is good.
Traditional.
That's more traditional.
Traditional on that out of Tarv. So that's more what we're.
He must have been more moved by the other one. The other one.
He really liked that one. Yeah,
baby.
It was a real celebration of that.
Yes.
Now, I did notice Tarv did jog that one out to about the 5 before making the throw.
And he saw him get a little loose after that one too. A little head bob. I had a great chance to spend some time with Coach Tarver after his appearance on our program yesterday, which was awesome. All right, here we go. Now we're at 50, I think. This looks about just about 50 yards, maybe. Yeah. From the right hash, ball down, kick is up, and over end. That looked piped.
That's good.
That is good. Yeah. Ooh, that gave a little.
Yeah,
that was almost
excited about that.
An homage to, we'll call it Dominique Wilkins, a double pump windmill.
Yep. The human highlight film for the kids out there.
Yeah. Oh, Cade York, handshakes all around. Bubba Ventrone.
Everybody's happy. Ventrone's bouncing.
Of course he's happy. He's pleased. The guy's playing. The guy's kicked great. He's been very consistent.
That would be amazing if he could be everything that was drafted to be this year. That's the intent of it. It feels like he's got a little bit of bounce to him, a good feeling about himself, but that would be just a tremendous bonus. And this thing in the AFC, buddy,
it's tight.
It's a razor's edge.
Yes.
It's going to be a play here, there, in any game, a kick. Yeah.
Think about last year.
Conversion on third down. It's going to be that over and over again.
We had kicks to win it against Carolina. Nailed it. We had an extra point against the Jets that maybe changes how that game ends.
Yeah, for sure.
Did not make it. We had a kick to win it against the Chargers after MJ Emerson asked for Mike Williams, gets him in coverage, and forces an incompletion on fourth down near midfield. Yep. We had a kick there we did not make, and we had a kick against the Baltimore Ravens that was blocked, and there was some odd officiating, to be sure. But, you flip. If we come out right on all 3 of the other ones, we're a playoff team. You come out right on 2 of the other 3, we're a playoff team. You come out right on 1 of the other 3, then that Week 18 game was a playoff game.
Yeah.
So it's a razor's edge.
Yeah, it's tight. So you want to be. It's every one
A lot
of these
of confidence.
practices. It's all.
Yep.
Everything's got to be locked in. You got to get your work in, and you got to make sure you put your best foot position going forward. And I mean, you could get, not that anybody here wants it, but you could get a break in Week 1 with the Burrow injury, where who knows, that certainly is called into question based on the injury he had last week.
Yes, and you certainly look. Breaks are you just can play. All you can do is play the team that's put out there in front of you.
That's right.
And so for the Browns, whether that's with Joe Burrow, who, I'm sure he wants to play. He has not won at First Energy Stadium, now Cleveland Browns Stadium. I think that, if you're the Browns, you don't mind either way. You want the best you can get, but if there's a break that's in your favor, it's going to take some luck this year.
Yeah.
It's going to take health. It's going to take clutching up in a few key moments. So you'll take it all. I mean, there are no excuses in the NFL. There are no, it's not like in golf where you get a handicap, like, you're without Joe Burrow, so you guys start at 7 in this game. It'll be 7-0 Bengals to start.
Right.
No, there's none of that. It's just all you can do is play the team that's put out there in front of you and do the best that you can, and that's obviously what the Browns are going to try to do.
In terms of today's practice, obviously starting with the special teams, give me the script of how you anticipate this going here over the next hour and a half or so.
And my guess is we'll get some teams to start here. Probably a team period. You're going to get some 7-on-7s mixed in, and my guess is you might get a team 2-minute drill and a 7-on-7 2-minute drill type of a situation. I hope they get back in the red zone. That's where we've had some of the most fierce competition so far. Only one thing that remains to be seen is, and my guessing is, no, we're not going to have a live tackle to the ground session, but keep working on that ground game. But we're going to get a lot, I think, of good football action. What do I mean that is? The team 11-on-11 periods or the 7-on-7 periods. I think we're going to get a lot of that. And I think that for the fans, that's the most fun thing to watch.
Yep.
And it's really crowded on this sideline because everything seems to be going on these first fields here, at least right now, today. And then we'll see how it ultimately unfolds. But a beautiful day out here in Berea, a little cloud cover, so not too hot, a little humidity. But it's going to be fun to see these guys get after it.
For next year, what we need to get with Gibbe on is you and I perched.
It makes all the sense in the world. It makes all the sense in the world that we should be perched.
A little bit, maybe even, I don't know.
I wouldn't even mind if they just built us a stage.
Now we're talking. Now you're talking.
That we would be able to sit on, which
Yeah.
they used to have over there. I mean,
Over
we
there,
used to have it in that corner.
Yeah, just up
Gibbe.
a little bit.
Gibbe.
For next year, next year, write this down. Segura and I are requesting. Segura and I are requesting.
It's already denied.
A stage or a perch.
I don't care.
We
That's
want a
good for the
stage
show. Why are you
or a
against
perch
us?
So that we can see out.
So we can see what's going on.
And see what's happening.
And be elevated, preferably air conditioned.
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously, yeah.
They had one last year. We had an air conditioned stage last year.
A little perch, look out.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's it. Just a request.
We will. Gibby, we feel like we're all on the same team here, and that you would be like, you know what, that is a good idea,
boys.
That makes sense, and I'm going to advocate for it.
I'm going to work on that.
Sure.
I'm going to get to that.
Like, how does it hurt you to have that happen?
Sure. What time did you show up at this table today?
Who?
You.
What does that have to do with anything?
10 to 1.
The setup that's involved in it.
The setup that's involved in
he
what?
He wants you to build the setuup. If you help build the stage.
He has 2 interns, literally 2 interns for himself.
I don't have 2 interns for myself.
1.5.
I see 2 right here.
This young man is running the live stream
this is
for Yellowstone.
This is
He's
a
Yellowstone.
Awesome.
He's
So
a
I would
Yellowstone.
imagine he and
But
Yellow.
we have one Stevie.
We have,
Esteban.
Yeah.
He's
Stevie
ready.
just gave you Stefanski at the podium.
He did a great job.
Wonderful.
He did.
More important to us, he got us the water.
More important, yeah.
All
right, so let's just assess what we see here. What I see is a table.
Yep.
With a tablecloth on it.
Yep.
Were you out here yesterday testing lines at 3 o'clock? Were you running?
I don't know how to do that. Why? Do you want me to do that?
I don't know. Like I feel like you snap your fingers and click your heels 3 times, and it just magically appears.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'll get right on all that.
Okay. All right. Here, I'll do that, and then you do this, and then we'll trade.
I'm good.
There's your trade-off. We got Schwartzy coming up.
We do.
We got Jim Schwartz coming up. We will go around the league as well.
What's the deal?
Wait, this is it. This is the show.
I know,
This
but
is
why
what
is,
happens.
but why is he so angry with us?
He's not. He's angry at you.
Well, that's always.
That's
but
how
why?
it goes.
What did I do?
Yeah.
What did I do?
Yeah. I did
Yeah.
say for next year, to be fair. I'm not
You
saying
did.
I'm saying in the hopper.
Yes.
Throw it deep in the hopper.
Can I just publicly say thank you so much for testing the lines and the setup that you've done here? Not to mention the yeoman's effort at the Greenbrier. Let's all just take a moment. Jason Gibbs appreciation moment.
I like it. I like it.
See, it's all BS. So then we'll stop doing it.
Stop doing it.
It's not BS. I
So
meant it.
Stop doing it.
I meant it.
Schwartz at the podium. Coming up next, you're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Training camp practice number 1 in Berea is underway. We've got some stretching, some guys getting loose, heading off into position group. We'll have much more to describe as the hour goes along. For now, though, let's have a listen to Jim Schwartz from the podium.
You guys are down.
Good. You still. Not ready yet. That's probably the biggest thing. When the style of defense we play depends so much on playing off of another guy as opposed to just sort of hunkering down and playing your responsibility. And there's only really one way to practice that, and that's full speed. So, we're still a work in progress. We're making progress, but it's something that doesn't happen overnight. We've had very limited opportunities in full pads, by plan. Yeah. But particularly for the young guys, Thursday will be a big step for them. We'll keep it simple for those guys, and we can see where they are right now. But we're only a couple weeks in. We'll use the whole training camp to be ready for the opener.
Where do you think you have made the most progress?
Well, I'd say more in like blitz responsibility and those kind of things, because with all the walkthroughs and everything else that we've been getting, Jeff, we can use those reps. You don't have to be full speed to get to your right gap, to blitz in the right spot and things like that. So, we don't restart our installation when we come to camp. We start off the first day with everything that was installed in the spring, and the guys did a good job of responding to that, and we were able to hit the ground running with that kind of stuff.
Jim, when you evaluate your guys during camp, does the game reps weigh more heavily than a single practice day?
It's the whole body of work, Tony. It's game reps, it's practice reps, it's walkthrough, it's meetings, it's weight room. It's all part of the evaluation process. How you do something is how you do everything, and we preach that. And obviously games are going to mean more, but it's not the only thing that we evaluate them on.
How's the early in camp, not in pads, you're working on technique and things like that. How do you feel in those two padded practices that the technique that you guys worked on translated?
It's still work in progress. When you're learning a new technique, a lot of times, when all of a sudden it becomes pads or it becomes a first preseason game, you tend to resort back, and then you just got to plow through that. I think any of us have tried to lose weight, you're on that diet and you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden that afternoon comes and you cheat, and next thing you're set back, and then you sort of regroup and you start again and you just keep making progress. So we've had setbacks, but we want to trend like the S&P 500, where over time we're making progress. We don't want to be that, that cardiac rhythm where we're up one day and down one day.
Jim, when you say we're not ready yet, how much more ready might you?
Well, we're not ready for a opening game yet, but we're ready. We're ready for preseason game, and we're ready for practice.
But my question is, how does it change anything, if anything, that you have those 3 AFC North games in the first 4 weeks? Does that accelerate what things that you might have to do, or how much more ready do you have to be?
Yeah, we see so many different things in our division that we do have to cover a lot of ground in training camp. But if you ask these guys about the first 3 opponents today, I would hope that they wouldn't know any of the 3, because they're just worried about practice today and the emphasis of practice and competing and their technique. And if we do a good job of that on a daily basis, then we'll be ready for those first 3 opponents. If we're here August 1st? Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we're here August 1st and we're thinking about week 3, we're in the wrong business, and we're not going to make any ground. So I like where the guys are, come out on a daily basis and work. But your point is, we do have a lot of stuff, not just in the first 3 games, but there's a lot of things that are going to come up over the course of the year, a lot of different styles of offense, a lot of different things that, when we play, a middle of the season game and there's something that we put in the game plan, hopefully it's not the first time we've executed it, that we've covered that ground at some point in the off-season training camp.
Jim, a lot of these guys on defense have talked about how they wanted to have better communication this year. For early into training camp, where do you think that stands with you taking the reins, and how has that kind of developed so far?
Yeah, I think that falls into Jeff's question about the blitz. I do think we've made progress there. And, communication. We've streamlined a lot of communication and things like that. And, what we just did in our walkthroughs and things like that, where you're, quote, full speed before the snap, all that communication has to be urgent. And, we've made progress there. And I think you can, I don't think you don't need full pads to improve the communication. Now, when we were at Greenbrier, our first day of pads, our communication was the worst, right? And it was, we made mistakes on things we made more mistakes that first day, mental mistakes, than we did the whole week before that, because there was a guy in pads lined up next to you. Just changed the dynamic. Well, the more that happens, the players will get comfortable. It's one thing getting comfortable in a meeting, getting comfortable in a walkthrough, getting comfortable in a non-padded practice, getting comfortable in a padded practice, and now real games, and we're somewhere in the middle of that progression.
Did you like the energy you saw out of them? Because it seemed like those last 3 practices down in West Virginia, the energy from the defense especially was really, really high. Do you like where that's at least?
Well, we put an emphasis on that. We're going to try to lead the league in effort. We're going to try to lead the league in, passion for the game and things like that. And that doesn't just happen on Sunday. You got to practice it. And, I think the guys have responded well to that message.
Browns brought in a cornerback today. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we just had a spot. We'll get him up to speed quick, and he's already been in our meetings and took some snaps and walked through. So we'll get him up to speed right away. And if the opportunity comes for him to play on Thursday, we'll have a package ready for him to play.
Jim, sorry. When you hired Ephraim, what was it that you saw in him that made you want to bring in a young guy like that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, young, old, black, white, Hispanic, loud, quiet, all those things, none of that really matters. It's your ability to inspire and motivate your players. It's your ability to bring energy every day. It's your ability to teach technique and to teach scheme. And he checked all those boxes. And he'd been around a lot of good people in college, and he was a guy that was on the radar, and he was ready for when his time came for the interview, and he's done nothing to dissuade us from thinking that was a good decision.
Jim, what have you seen out of the linebacker group? Does it make it hard not having maybe 2 of your top guys being able to be in team drills yet?
No, I sort of look at it the other way. Is it puts it gives more work to the younger guys who can use it, and it also forces all those guys to act like vets and to operate efficiently like vets. You can have a comfort blanket, or whatever the word is. You have a security blanket. Yeah, security blanket, Linus. You get a security blanket, have an AWOL and talk out there. And then nobody else takes that next step. Nobody else really grows up. But, you throw them in the pool and they have to make all the calls. You saw it last year with those guys. They had to go out and play, but now they're getting more and more and going against, whatever, first group on offense and things like that. And, our standards are standard. We don't get graded on the curve because we have a young player or a rookie or anything else out there.
Well, takeaways have always been important. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. He already got
one. The first practices in West Virginia, seeing Miles kind of work off to the side with guys, hearing how vocal Zadarius is, like having those 2 guys sort of taking the reins in that regard with some of their younger teammates, like what that means as you're trying to get everyone up.
Yeah, I'd add Dalvin in there too. Been an outstanding leader for us, and I think those guys that have operated at a high level of success in the NFL, it becomes paying it forward a little bit. I've been very pleased with those guys. I've been pleased with their tempo of practice. Their, everything about it. They've, anytime you sign a free agent, anytime you give a guy a contract and things like that, you're telling the rest of the guys in the locker room, hey, this is what we're all about right here, right? And those guys have a responsibility to that. It's a Spider-Man with great. See, all you Marvel people, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, with a big contract comes great responsibility. It's not just about the play; it's about all those stuff. And I like those guys. Those guys have all done it in their own way. Each guy is a little bit different, but when you talk about the D line, you talk about the group, and it's a little bit like an offensive line. It's not an individual position. One guy might flush the quarterback, another guy makes the sack. One guy might execute a game perfectly to free up another guy. It's a group. It's a mentality of all for one, one for all, and those guys are leading the way with that.
Hey, Jim, along those lines, how important is it not only how those guys play off each other, but those top D linemen you're talking about, the relationships they have with each other in terms of selflessness and the kind of the quest to create the best matchups that you guys see as a coaching staff?
Yeah, when your best players are also your hardest working players, you're guys that I said before, we expect to hold our best players the most accountable. But that's one thing to say, to hold your best players the most accountable. Where you're really getting somewhere is when your best players hold themselves the most accountable. And I think that, I don't think I answered that question. I went to something else.
I still appreciate your point, but I was asking about the relationship between those top
guys. It takes a village, I guess. It takes a village, and everybody's going to be a little different. Like Z's got a lot of energy, and he's real loud. Dalvin, you don't hear a lot from them, but they all have their own individual style, and together they all play off. Each other and fill each other's blind spots, and cover each other's blind spots. I'm mixing my metaphors here. That's a big part. We're not just out here blocking and tackling and getting off blocks and doing technique. We're also building a team, and the synergy between players, their responsibility to each other. We're training that as well, and I think a lot of people
back in 20
when you go to training camp, because it becomes all about the scheme or all about the pads. There's a human dynamic to this, and we need to find a way over these next month or so that the sum is greater than our individual parts. If we do that, then we'll have done our job. Thanks, guys. I got to make it.
You're up.
He's a breath of fresh air, isn't he?
I enjoy watching
fun.
him coach. I enjoy listening to him talk. I enjoy every interaction that I get the opportunity to have with him. Yeah, Jim Schwartz is, I think, a major, major addition to this team, and this is taking nothing away from the people that were here before him, because we had some very successful defenses and a defense that basically keyed our first playoff win in a quarter century with all the, I think they had 5 takeaways and scored in that game against the Steelers. But I think that he is going to be, if not the most, certainly amongst the most important acquisitions this offseason. I think it's likely that he's probably the most. The Browns and Andrew Berea did a great job. I was talking with somebody yesterday about our defense, and when you have a defensive line that can get to the quarterback there, you can do so many different things on the back end, right? You can play man, you can play your shells, you can do all that. But when you don't, it becomes very difficult, and especially in a 4-man front. And so I think Andrew Berea realized that last year wasn't good enough. I mean, I don't know if I just did this all, so I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett led our team with 16 sacks.
Yep.
Second was Taven Bryan with 3 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Third was Deion Jones, who joined the team, week 10. He had 2.5. Tied for 4th was Jacob Phillips, who played 7 games with 2.
Yeah.
Clowney had 2, and Jordan Elliott had 2.
Yeah, that's not going to do it.
That's another reason why when we were in such a zone-heavy scheme last year, you can't just sit back and play zone if you're not getting pressure.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to have a team that's going to utilize more 5-man fronts and be able to create more mismatches up front for our guys. We're going to let our corners play a lot more man. So I think it's very suited to the personnel, but I think Andrew Berry in getting, remember, 3 of your top 5 guys that will be on the field, or 3 of your top 4 guys that will be on the field in passing situations on the D-line are new. Added to Myles Garrett was Zadarius Smith, a 3-time Pro Bowler, Oba Okoronkwo, and Dalvin Tomlinson. So I think it's going to look very different from a personnel standpoint. It's going to look very different from a talent standpoint. That's going to look very different from a schematic standpoint as well, where this is an aggressive team that should be in position to take the football away significantly more than they did last season.
Schwartz is a personality fit.
Yep.
He is a scheme fit.
And he's a personality complement.
Complement, yeah.
Yes.
And then, schematically, it fits what we do well. It should fit our personnel very well. And, in fact, as people start to get a little more dialed into what our roster is, and even some of the national people are starting to come around, it's like there's this, awareness of now what's on defense. And Jim Schwartz is this skill set of athletes and playing in his defense, there's a different ceiling to that.
Absolutely, because you can rush the passer. You've got the beef to be able to stand up if you want to play the run very well. You can do that. Zadarius is a big, strong guy who obviously is great at rushing the passer, but also can play the run. Dalvin, I wouldn't be surprised if still another defensive tackle makes his way. We know that we met with Shelby Harris yesterday. But then your talent on the back end, Thornhill, Delpit, McLeod at safety, and then your corners of Denzel, Greg, and MJ. You can match up with different sizes and different styles. You have the ability now to be multiple in the presentation, whereas last year it was, if we were nickel, Greg was always inside. Well, now Denzel's going to go inside at times and follow certain receivers into the slot. So I just think we have the ability to cover. We have the ability to mirror, play good man. We have guys who can get their hands on the ball. You think about Denzel and MJ last year, both had 15 PBUs. And what's been missing, though, to be fair, are the interceptions. Grant Delpit led your team with 4. Denzel had 3, but you had none from MJ, none from Greg Newsome, both still looking for their first career interceptions. I think they're just going to be in positions to make a lot more of those type of plays this year. But, yes, it is all there for you schematically to be an elite defense. And when you have that, plus the skill position players, you have the best running back in the league. You have a guy who, you hope returns to, and certainly we've seen signs that he will, his top 5 status as a quarterback in the NFL. You got 3 good receivers. The guy's got 6,000-yard seasons under his belt. DPJ gets better every year. You got Elijah, and then you have the best running back in the league, not to mention David Njoku. So it's all there, and the best offensive line in the league, arguably.
Yep.
So it's all there for the Browns, and now looks like we're about to get some work here. I'm going to see if this is 7. It looks like the linemen are coming, so this might be the first full team period here for the Browns offense against the Browns defense.
All right, we want to hang here. We want to take a quickie. Gibbe?
You can. We can keep it here for.
All right, let's hang. We'll hang.
And then we'll stack.
We'll hang, and then we'll sort it all out. That's all right.
That was a sound that
the
great Nat Pedro would make when he was thinking.
Yeah,
he
liked that.
He loved it.
I'm a big. A little bit of a T to it. I get that with the boys when they're like, Can I have one more thing of Prime?
I just don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if you can. So it looks like we are going to get some offense, defense,
so here we
red
go.
zone stuff here. You got some 11 on 11.
This is going to be 11 on 11 from your own 20, headed out.
Oh, we're headed out.
Headed
okay,
out.
Here we
Yep.
go.
Amari, Chief, DPJ, Elijah Moore, and then Nick Chubb in the backfield with Deshaun Watson, and the starting line is out there.
Elijah in motion here.
Yeah. That was a man look there from Greg Newsome. We have the ability to do a lot of things that look like man, but our zones. Quick out, jumped by MJ.
The ball was a little behind. It was a little bit behind DPJ over there.
I'm telling you what.
And MJ went.
I think MJ Emerson is going to be regarded around the league by the end of this year in a potentially Pro Bowl light. I love what I've seen from him in camp. You talk to the coaches, the way that he works, his commitment physically and mentally, off the charts. The size, the speed that he has, unique in our cornerback room. It's standing at 6'2". So I think he has a chance to be really special.
Shifted into the gun again. Watson back. That one batted down.
Yeah, trying to set up a screen, and Dalvin Tomlinson read it like
Damon
a book.
got it.
That's the veteran.
Yeah.
Dalvin Tomlinson would get that left paw out there, and the defense coming up fired up right now in the pads.
Yeah, 2 big plays out of them.
That's the thing. You're going to have, like I said, with this team, you're going to have back and forth. And we've had back and forth throughout singular days, over the course of days. I've been to many training camps where the defense just completely dominated the offense for the entirety of camp. And fortunately, that's not the case anymore.
Watson under center now. Looks like we've got a give to
no play action, boot right, throws down the right sideline. And that was caught by Elijah Moore for about 12 yards. And that's our play action boot game.
Yeah.
We got a very difficult viewing situation.
We've got even more things being stacked now.
Yeah, just how about that, but here.
Just maybe over
maybe that,
here.
But there.
All right. So there you go. The offense had a little bit of success on the play action.
So there looks like they're moving the ball.
Under center, yeah.
Looks like they gave them the first down there. So 2 incompletions then on third down. Looks like they picked it up. And they got 1st and 10.
Did he give it that time?
Yeah.
To Nick?
Yep. Little cutback up the middle. Nice solid gain, as always, with the great Nick Chubb. It's always hard in these situations. We're not tackling the ground, doing a little thud up, and just not trying to keep everybody healthy. Make sure that nobody ends up on the ground here.
I always think it's amazing when you think of it's the first time I've seen Chubb since the spring, and
his burst.
It's burst. It just when you see him in person,
yeah,
the arms, all of it. It's just such an imposing person. Watson now been under center 3 or 4 plays in a row.
That's a play action.
Play action, Jerome Ford, and then back the other way.
Little screen.
No, that's not.
To Jerome Ford.
Oh, that's right back to Ford. Okay.
Yep. Play action to him, and then set up the screen, and that looked like that was a successful play. They were able to get the guys out there, take advantage of the upfield aggression from the Browns' defensive line, and have a nice gain there. We need a crowd control here because we've got 100 people lined up in front of us.
Yeah, there are. That's all right. We're pros. We'll sort through it. Here. All right, so here we are. We're back under center one more time for Deshaun on this one. Chief in motion.
Dude, I love it.
There you go. Oh, I always like that one. This one.
Can. So now you're going to your second play out of the 2 that were called. Little toss right for Ford.
Or that was
a healthy run there. He did not get touched.
Yep.
Till he was well down the field. Good job by David Bell getting his nose in there blocking. Lost his helmet on that one, but the old toss sweep.
So just so the audience understands that I know the difference between Jerome Ford and Nick Chubb, I could only see the top of the 2 or the 3
right.
and the 4.
Well, to be fair, your direct line of sight, there are 1,000 people.
That's true. That's true.
So
the direct line of sight.
I think
the stage stand would be where we're at for next year.
Yeah, next year. I do think Gibbe would be great out there as a get back guy,
especially in today's mood.
Yeah, I think moving around. Yeah. All right, Josh Dobbs getting there. Nice blitz pickup from Jerome Ford.
There we go.
Looked like Thomas Graham on a corner blitz got home. That's caught, but that's caught well after what would have been a sack for the defense, but exciting for the offense.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, couldn't see who caught that because.
And was it an 80?
Austin Watkins, good eyes there. Who I thought he had an impressive stint at the Greenbrier, not only in his job as a receiver in the one-on-ones, but whenever he had some special teams reps, he had some very good special teams reps, and I know Bubba Ventrone certainly took notice, and he'll get plenty of opportunities in this game on Thursday night.
Yeah, those are the type of, you're thinking about the position battles, guys fighting for their lives. You're talking about guys who can work on special teams but also find a way. This Thursday will be fun. It's so much more fun because we have the 2 quarterbacks, too.
Yes. Quick little out there to David Bell from Josh Dobbs. What I think is exciting, too, about our offensive line is normally when you go to these preseason games, you have to have your second-team line out there. It can feel dangerous. I like our second-team line. You got Hudson at left tackle, DeJuan Jones at right tackle. You got Michael Dunn and Drew Forbes at the guards, and you got Nick Harris.
Nick Harris, could be a starter.
That's a very solid second unit for the Browns. Then on the third unit on the interior, you got Luke Whippler that you drafted and you feel very good about. You've got Wes Martin and Colby Gossett who have both played in the league. And then you get some young tackles, Tedford and Tyrone Wheatley Jr. But your second-team line is pretty darn good. A little pull to the left, blown up there by number 65, Michael Dwumfor.
And that was Nick Chubb on that one.
That was Nick Chubb out there. Yeah, Dwumfor, guy who's played with the 49ers in the past, trying to make it out of Rutgers. And competing, look, I think it's wide open. You can't say for sure who the 4th defensive tackle is at this point. So all these guys, and that's going to be something to really watch in this game, is how the defensive tackles do given when they get their opportunities. Whether it be Maurice Hurst, Tristan Hill, Dwumfor.
It's quite a bit of Josh Dobbs' work here. This is
Yeah.
5 plays now for Josh.
So they faked it right, and they're throwing deep down the left side.
He's got him.
And
he got beyond it.
Just overshot. Was that Anthony Schwartz down there?
Yeah,
it was.
There's a 10 down there.
Anthony Schwartz with, I think, Tanner McAllister in coverage. It was overthrown. It didn't hit his hands.
It was. We kind of ended up being a banana at the end.
Yeah.
Tracking it down a little bit. So that was the deep shot that was trying to be taken there. All right, we'll take a quick timeout. Much more of this to come. Some exciting stuff happening out here in Berea. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. today for the best chance at securing tickets for all home games in future seasons. Don't miss out. Go to clevelandbrowns.com/tickets or call 440-891-5050 to reserve your spots today. As 11 on 11s continue out here. We did have was it Cam Mitchell with an interception?
Yeah, Cam Mitchell, the Browns' young cornerback, the rookie out of Northwestern, good friend of Greg Newsome's, had a nice break on the ball, kind of ran right through Amari Cooper, picked off a pass from Deshaun Watson. That's been the big highlight so far, other than Myles Garrett making it almost impossible to practice. The Browns' defensive line is going to be a problem. There's just no way to say it other than that. It is going to be an absolute problem. Josh Dobbs with some nice throws, a couple to David Bell. And that looks like the end of the first team period there. For the Browns starting offense, I'd say a mixed bag. Not a whole lot of highlights there. A couple nice screens.
Elijah on one good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then on that play action, right, the boot to the right for Elijah. But this defensive line, Myles Garrett, and that's what's so wild to watch when you come out here and you get to see a guy like that in his prime and know that it feels like at times it's hard to even run a play. On the interception, he had the sack. Deshaun had to kind of like pop out of the pocket, reset, and throw. The timing's over. The play was over anyway. And then Cam Mitchell knew the ball was coming out, made a great break on the ball. One of the things that they're coached on is that when you see a quarterback in the pocket reset, make your break because the ball's coming out at that point. If they have to reset, they know their internal clock, it's not coming, and they're resetting to throw. And Cam Mitchell, great job. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of praise from Brandon Lynch when they put the tape on there to make that break, get physical through Amari Cooper, and then finish that play. So round one to the defense, no doubt about it. And then we'll see them. They're going to get back out there again, and I'm sure we'll get in some 2-minute situations. And now we're back for a little special teams period with Bubba Ventrone.
We were I was thinking about this morning in regard to the Hall of Fame game on Thursday and the Hoff going in on Saturday. And
so
obviously,
cool.
It's amazing. It's going to be an amazing weekend down there for everybody. But you start to think about, he's the first Brown to go in since what? Is it Ozzie? I don't even have the answer to it. Is it? I don't know. Is he the first Cleveland Brown since who to go in, Gibbe?
Ozzie.
I was right on that?
Yeah.
Ozzie in 99.
Yeah, my father and I went.
Yeah.
Tim Couch played a series. Starters played, yeah.
That was first game back for the organization,
correct.
Right? They played in that game against the Packers?
Cowboys.
Cowboys, okay, yeah.
Yeah. It was that was an electric night.
Yeah,
I mean, we paid, at that point, we paid $50 and parked on someone's lawn and walked 5 miles. But it was unbelievable. And I mean, by halftime, okay, fine, it's a preseason game.
Right.
Like, when they ran out of the tunnel and Couch let them out, it was like, whoa.
Well, we're on now. We're back,
yeah.
baby. Yeah. So 99 first time. So first one since then. And then the point of all this is you're bringing up Myles, and you think about, well, Hoff goes in, who's next? And if, now all of a sudden you start, and this was a conversation we were talking about the overall depth of the roster. There are obviously Myles and Bitonio are at the top of that because they've stacked all pros. That's what you have to do. You got to stack those. So they would be at the top of that list. But then you start thinking if Nick Chubb can go further than the normal running back does, if he can get to a Jamal Lewis, if he can get to 31, 32 and still produce 1,200-yard seasons.
No doubt.
He's on that trajectory to where he would be somebody on that level as well. And Watson's obviously very, very young too.
Yeah, those are the three guys that are obvious. I think Deshaun Watson, you would have said, was certainly on that track.
He's headed there
at the conclusion of the 2020 season when he led the NFL in passing, and so you want to see him get back to that level. It'd be great for all of us here. But yeah, those are the guys. I mean, Joel Bitonio now. You think about the fact that racking up first-team All-Pros. I think he's been first-team All-Pro or second-team All-Pro 4 straight seasons. 5 straight Pro Bowls. Yeah, he's starting to get to that point where you're starting to think of him in that kind of breadth, and at his position, he could be doing this for a few more years. You rack up, you get to 4 or 5 first-team All-Pros. Then in this era, that's strong, and that probably puts him right in that position to go into the Hall. And then Myles is I think you want to see him get a Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
I think that certainly is in play this year. You heard Andrew Berry say it's a match made in heaven. When I talked to Myles about that, he laughed, and I said, I hope he's right. But he loves the defense. He loves the freedom he gets to rush. And he loves the fact that Jim Schwartz is so open-minded to moving him around, overloading one side, playing a lot of games that are going to get Myles consistently in one-on-one matchups and advantageous situations. And if that happens, he's got back-to-back 16-sack seasons. Obviously, that's a franchise single-season record. I think there's a good chance he breaks that single-season record this year. He's already He's already Browns record holder, franchise record holder, all-time sacks, single-game sacks, had 4.5 against Chicago and Justin Fields' first start, and then single-season sacks was 16, which he's done in each of the last 2 years. So when you think about the history of this franchise, and he's got all of those records, and you feel like he's still ascending, that's pretty special.
Yeah, the play that we had here when Watson threw the interception, I mean, he was in Deshaun's face in under a second.
In a second, yes.
There was no – you're cooked. There's nowhere to go.
No, that would have been –
yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way that goes.
That's the kind where the ball can come out, too, because as a quarterback, you're dropping back. He's coming from your blind side. You really have no expectation that a player would be there at the moment you get to the top of your drop. And yet that's where Myles Garrett was. And that's what he does. And sometimes, Kevin Stefanski will tell you, sometimes we got to have him sit on the sideline so that we can practice. Like, this is about, as you said, getting work.
You can't get work.
And sometimes Myles Garrett makes it very difficult to get work because he is that good.
And the combination of, we obviously spoken a lot about Za'Darius, but it's also Obo
and
as
Obo.
well. I mean, and then the young guys, as you mentioned yesterday on the show, but like this is the best group of just pure pass rushers we've had in forever.
And you got some pocket pushers as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Dalvin Tomlinson can push the pocket. They're hoping Jordan Elliott takes that step forward. He had 2 sacks last year. They hope you take a little step forward there. Maurice Hurst is a guy that had 7.5 sacks in his first 2 seasons in the NFL. Now, that was a long time ago, 2018, 2019. And then here's the one, Siaki Ika, nearly 40 pressures. He had 39 pressures the last 2 seasons at Baylor, which was number 1 among all interior defensive linemen in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, in college, I'm sorry, in Division I.
College,
in college. So he can push the pocket and generate some pressure. So you've got really a massive group and a massive number of tools, not to mention some of the blitzes where we're going to show that 5-man front, right? And then you're going to have somebody drop out and just into a flat zone, but you're going to blitz up the middle when they're thinking of spreading out to deal with everything, and then you got a chance. So the amount of games and then the twists and the stunts that we're going to be able to run, we should be incredibly disruptive in the backfield. And when you do that, those are monstrously negative plays. They lead to the ball coming out quicker. They lead to the ball coming out inaccurately because there are guys at the quarterback's feet. And all of a sudden, that's where turnovers come from. And as a defense, you're really kind of able to get to that next level.
Ozzie was not the most recent.
Who did I miss?
The voice just chimed in.
Oh, the voice.
The voice just said.
Now I feel bad.
Jim Donovan's like, you missed one. Gene Hickerson.
Gene Hickerson.
And I was like,
was that a veterans? Or was that a?
Yeah, it was definitely a veterans. Okay. But there was a big push for a long time
to get that.
Unfortunately, it came late, and he was not of sound mind. And if my father heard me and I screwed that up, I might be out of the will because he was a giant Gene Hickerson fan. My grandfather was a good friend of Gene Hickerson's.
I would also say that for us, letting down the voice is so deflating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
I can't wait to see him.
Oh.
Can't wait to see him. Can't wait to be back with him on
I can't believe
Thursday.
I missed that.
Yeah.
When you said Ozzie, I remembered that there was somebody much older than Ozzie playing-wise.
Yeah, because all the running backs got together.
It gets
starting
to be hard.
Happen.
On the veterans thing, it's tough.
It's tough, right.
Because when you think of, whether it's fair or not, when you think of the Hall, you think of guys voted in this year by the committee.
Yep.
And so sometimes those guys do get lost a little bit with that. You want to take a quick timeout, and then we may have a little bit of – let's take a quick timeout. So much more to come, and there actually could be.
Could be.
We'll be back
Potential.
to 11 on 11. We'll see. Cleveland runs daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. It's the season debut of the Kevin Stefanski Show. That's tonight at 7. Z and Gerard on the University Hospital Cleveland Browns Radio Network. Coach Stefanski and quarterback Kellen Mond, the starter on Thursday, will join, and we have a little 7-on-7 here, Z.
Yeah, we're getting that, and with 2 minutes left, it's appropriate. We're doing the 2-minute drill. Watson coming out sharp now in this 7-on-7 period. A little different when you don't have Myles Garrett breathing down your throat. A bunch of completions in a row to Elijah Moore, as well as a couple to Amari Cooper. And for the people listening,
yeah, right. So there's several.
There are several. However, Max Speedy, who went in 2020,
right.
Played for the Browns 1946 to 1952, wide receiver. He is the most recent to go in prior to the Hoff. Joe Thomas, and it's hard to, obviously, very
Joe
hard
D
for everybody to
in,
keep.
In the early 2000s.
Yep, 2003 for Joe D. Hickerson 2007, and then Max Speedy 2020, and now the Hoff in 2023. And T-Mag, he had that. He said, what about Max Speedy? Went around 2020-ish. I believe he was wide receiver
Good
for
job
the
out of
championship
you.
teams. Correct. You
Good
got it.
job out of you. Josh Dobbs in there now.
So it is kind of tough, though, with these. Like, I went to when the year Edgerrin James got inducted.
1 minute.
There was a safety from the Steelers from all their championship teams who got inducted that same year. And so you don't really think about it like that because they kind of do those two separate classes. You know, the veteran, like Joe Klecko's going in this year to that veteran wing. And so you're.
But they're all in the same hall.
Well,
which makes it tricky. Like, once you get in, they're all in. That's
why Deion Sanders doesn't like it. He said, I want the real hall.
Yeah, then they also had the year where they did it was the COVID year and the Century year, so they had two huge classes that went in at the same time. That was Max was in that group with Peyton Manning. Like, they had that huge class that got in. So that's the tricky part of it, and you lose track of some of those things.
By the way, nice ball from Dobbs to Cedric Tillman there in traffic on the deep dig.
I think Josh has thrown some great balls today.
Yeah.
Earlier, he had 11-on-11, he threw some dots.
No doubt.
30-30.
As the kids like to say.
Yeah, a couple of dimes. It's good to just see everybody out here competing. Yeah. There's Dobbs, Zaire Mitchell-Payton for a big gain as well up the seam. And the offense now roaring back in the 7-on-7s again.
No Miles.
No Miles. No Zadarius. No Obo. No Dalvin. It makes it a lot different out there, no doubt.
The next level's coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.